On March 15, 2024, Alicia Mitchell from Denver stepped off a plane in Auckland and was immediately escorted to a detention room, not for drugs, not for weapons, but for something she posted on Instagram 3 weeks earlier. I know what you're thinking. What could an American tourist possibly do to get banned from an entire country? And more importantly, if you've ever dreamed of visiting Middle-earth, watching the All Blacks play, or hiking Milford Sound, you need to hear this before you book that flight. Because Alicia's mistake? It's one that 250,000 Americans are making right now without realizing they're about to be blacklisted. Let me tell you Alicia's story. But wait, before we begin, please hit the subscribe button now to ensure that you never miss out on any of my videos. Drop your comments below, and I will welcome you to our community. With that said, let's get started. She's 34, works in marketing, and loves the outdoors. 3 weeks before her New Zealand trip, she posted a photo of herself at Yosemite National Park. The caption read, "Can't wait to do this in NZ, gonna go off-trail and find spots no tourist has ever seen," followed by a mountain emoji and the hashtag #AdventureTime. Innocent, right? Wrong. That post was flagged by New Zealand's automated border system. The same AI that scans 2.3 million social media posts every single day, looking for exactly what Alicia wrote, intent to break their conservation laws. When she landed, she was interviewed for 6 hours. The outcome? A $12,000 fine and a 5-year entry ban. She never even made it past the airport. Alicia thought she was just being adventurous. She had no idea that her excitement about going off-trail would trigger an algorithm designed to protect New Zealand's ecosystem from tourists like her. But here's the thing. Alicia's case is just the beginning. Because there are 4 types of American behaviors that now trigger instant investigations at New Zealand's border. And the second one? Most Americans do it without even realizing they're breaking the law. Let me ask you something. Have you ever worn the same hiking boots on multiple trips? You know, your trusty pair that's been with you to Colorado, the Appalachian Trail, maybe even a trip to South America? Congratulations. You might already be blacklisted. Meet Robert Chin. He's 58, a retired teacher from Oregon who'd been planning his New Zealand trip for 2 years. He's an experienced hiker. Careful guy. Follows the rules. But when he packed for New Zealand, he wore the same boots he'd worn 3 months earlier in Patagonia. Big mistake. Huge. Those boots contained microscopic spores of Phytophthora agathodicida, a pathogen that's killing New Zealand's sacred kauri trees. These aren't just any trees. Some of them are 2,000 years old. They were alive when Jesus walked the earth. And Robert's unwashed boots could have killed them. Here's the terrifying part. 1 microscopic spore can infect an entire forest. The 2024 Kauri Dieback report found that 89% of infected trees were located near tourist trails. That's not a coincidence. That's tourists tracking death into one of the world's most pristine environments. When border agents inspected Robert's boots, they found the spores. His consequence? A $25,000 fine, a lifetime ban from New Zealand, and here's the kicker. His name was immediately shared with border agencies in Australia, Canada, and the United Kingdom. 1 pair of dirty boots just got him flagged in 4 countries. And the worst part? Robert could have avoided all of this with a $15 boot cleaning service at Auckland Airport. Takes 10 minutes. But he didn't know. And now he'll never see the kauri forests he traveled 6,000 miles to experience. But at least Robert made it into the country. The third type of tourist? They're turned away before they even clear customs. If you own a drone and it's in your checked luggage right now, you might want to rethink your entire trip. Between January and September 2024, New Zealand denied entry to 1,847 American tourists. 34% of them had one thing in common: an undeclared drone in their luggage. Marcus and Jennifer Thompson learned this the hard way. They're a couple from Austin who brought their DJI Mavic drones specifically for epic landscape shots. They'd used it in Iceland, Norway, Scotland, all without issue. So they figured New Zealand would be the same. Here's what they didn't know. New Zealand requires a $780 drone permit, $2 million in liability insurance, and Civil Aviation Authority approval that takes 4 to 6 weeks to process. The Thompsons had none of this. But they did have something else: 47 YouTube videos showing them flying drones illegally in 12 different countries. Videos that New Zealand border agents pulled up during their random inspection. Why does New Zealand care so much about drones? Because a 2024 Department of Conservation study found that illegal drones caused 156 bird nesting failures in a single year. And we're not talking about pigeons. We're talking about critically endangered species that exist nowhere else on Earth. One takahe nest, and there are only 500 of these birds left in the entire world, was abandoned because a drone hovered 15 feet above it for an Instagram reel. The birds never returned. Those eggs never hatched. Marcus and Jennifer? They were fined $18,000, their equipment was confiscated, and they're banned for 10 years. Their YouTube channel that they'd built for 3 years? Demonetized because of the violations they'd proudly documented. But here's what really gets Americans in trouble. It's not what you bring into New Zealand. It's what you refuse to declare. Because the fourth type of banned tourist is breaking a law that's been on the books since 1993, but Americans keep ignoring it, thinking it doesn't apply to them. Quick question. Have you ever packed trail mix, beef jerky, or protein bars for a long flight? You know, just some snacks to hold you over? In New Zealand, that innocent snack just became a $10,000 mistake. In 2024 alone, 4,200 Americans were fined for undeclared food items. The average fine? $8,400. Not a typo. $8,400. For food. Linda Kowalski learned this lesson the hardest way possible. She's 62, a grandmother from Michigan who was flying to Wellington to see her granddaughter Emma graduate from university. Linda wanted to surprise her with a taste of home, so she baked homemade cookies made with local Michigan honey. That honey contained American foulbrood spores. If those spores had reached New Zealand's bee population, they could have collapsed the country's $300 million honey industry in 18 months. A 2023 Ministry for Primary Industries study found that a single contaminated food item has a 23% chance of introducing an invasive species that can devastate an entire agricultural sector. But Linda didn't know any of this. She was stopped at customs, and when agents found the cookies, she was taken to a detention room. She tried to explain, "They're just cookies for my granddaughter." But New Zealand doesn't care about your intentions. They care about their ecosystem. Linda was fined $11,000. She missed her granddaughter's graduation while being processed. And she's banned from returning for 3 years. In the detention room, Linda was crying, saying, "I just wanted to surprise Emma with a taste of home." But here's the cultural disconnect. Americans see a cookie. New Zealanders see a potential ecological catastrophe. Their entire economy, their entire identity, depends on being clean and green. One grandmother's homemade cookies could destroy that. The rule is simple. If it's not in a sealed, commercially packaged container with an English ingredients list printed on it, leave it at home. Buy your snacks after you land. But wait, it gets worse. Because there's one American behavior that doesn't just get you banned from New Zealand. It gets you banned from 14 countries simultaneously. And 250,000 Americans are at risk right now without knowing it. Remember Alicia from the beginning? Her Instagram post didn't just get her banned from New Zealand. It triggered an international alert that went out to 13 other countries in real time. Here's what I'm talking about. New Zealand, Australia, Norway, Iceland, Scotland, Wales, Japan, Costa Rica, Ecuador, Bhutan, Switzerland, Austria, Slovenia, and Patagonia, which includes both Chile and Argentina, now share something called a high-risk tourist database. This database uses AI to scan social media for 47 specific behavioral flags. Hashtags like off-trail, hidden gem, secret spot, no regrets, and rules are suggestions. If you've used any of these in the context of travel in the last 3 years, you're in the system. A 2024 International Biosecurity Coalition report found that 89% of ecological violations involved tourists who posted their intent on social media beforehand. So these countries decided, why wait for you to break the law? Let's just ban you before you get here. Tyler Brennan found this out the hard way. He's 28, an adventure influencer with 340,000 followers. Last year, he posted a video titled, 10 illegal camping spots you must try in NZ. That video went viral, 2.1 million views. Tyler thought he'd struck gold. Brand deals, sponsorships, everyone wanted to work with him. But Tyler was flagged before his flight from LAX even took off. He was turned away at Auckland Airport. He thought, I'll just go to Iceland instead. He had a trip planned 3 months later. Denied. Iceland had already received his file from New Zealand. Then his sister's wedding in Australia. Denied. Then Japan, where he'd already been approved for a tourism visa. Revoked. Tyler is now banned from 8 countries. He lost 3 sponsorship deals worth a combined $140,000. And his appeals? Denied in every single jurisdiction. He thought he was building a career. Instead, he built a digital prison. And here's the terrifying part. That video is still up. His 340,000 followers are still watching it. They're still trying those illegal camping spots. And every single one of them is going on the list. So why is this happening? Why is New Zealand suddenly treating American tourists like criminals? Because honestly, we kind of forced them to. Between 2015 and 2023, American tourist violations in New Zealand increased by 340%. That's faster growth than any other nationality. Not by a little bit, by a lot. A 2024 University of Auckland study found that American tourists are 4.7 times more likely to ignore warning signs than European tourists and 6.2 times more likely than Asian tourists. But it comes down to culture. Americans are raised on the frontier spirit. Freedom to roam. The idea that nature exists for us to conquer and explore. It's baked into our national identity. But New Zealand is an island ecosystem, isolated for millions of years. One wrong move, one invasive species, one trampled plant, one disturbed nest, can cause an extinction event. Here's a real example. In 2022, a tourist from California picked wildflowers in Tongariro National Park. Just a handful for a photo. Those flowers were the only food source for a specific species of moth during its breeding season. That moth is now functionally extinct. One bouquet. One extinction. New Zealand's tourism industry brings in $40 billion annually. But environmental damage costs $8 billion to repair every year. So New Zealand did the math. Ban 5% of problematic tourists, save the entire industry. In 2024, New Zealand's tourism minister said this: "We'd rather have 100,000 respectful visitors than 1 million who don't care." They're not banning Americans because they hate us. They're protecting their home because we've shown them, repeatedly, statistically, undeniably, that we can't be trusted to protect it ourselves. But here's the question nobody's asking. Can you still visit New Zealand? Absolutely yes. But only if you do these 5 things before you book that flight. First, clean everything. And I mean everything. Boots, camping gear, bike tires, golf clubs, even your camera tripod. Use New Zealand's online declaration system 72 hours before your departure. Upload photos of your clean gear. It creates a digital record that can protect you at the border. Second, zero food. Not even sealed snacks. I don't care if it's a protein bar in its original wrapper. Buy everything after you land. New Zealand has grocery stores. You won't starve. Third, apply for any permits 8 weeks in advance. Drones, fishing licenses, climbing permits, diving certifications. Don't assume you can show up and figure it out. You can't. Fourth, audit your social media. Go back 3 years. Delete any posts showing off-trail hiking, rule-breaking, or hidden spot content. Yes, even if it was in a different country. The algorithm doesn't care where you broke the rules, only that you're willing to break them. Fifth, take the free online Tiaki Promise course. It's 30 minutes. It shows border agents that you respect their culture and their land. And it goes on your border record as a positive mark. Emma Rodriguez from Florida did all of this. She's 41, had previous camping violations in Yellowstone on her record. She was flagged at Auckland Airport, random inspection, they said. But Emma showed them her Tiaki certificate, her cleaned gear receipts, her permit applications. They approved her entry in 20 minutes. New Zealand isn't the enemy here. They're the canary in the coal mine. If we can't respect the most beautiful places on Earth, we're going to lose access to all of them. It's already starting. Iceland is next. Norway is drafting legislation. Japan just announced new restrictions. The age of showing up and winging it? That's over. So here's my question for you. Would you rather visit New Zealand responsibly and be welcomed back forever, or take shortcuts, get banned, and lose access to 14 countries for the perfect Instagram shot? And be honest in the comments. Have you ever broken a rule while traveling because you thought everyone does it? What happened? I read every single comment. Also, drop your country below. I'm researching which nation is cracking down next. My money's on Iceland or Norway. Let me know if you want that video. Because if you think New Zealand is strict, wait until you hear what Japan just announced for American tourists. That's next week's video. Hit subscribe button so you don't miss it. You're going to want to hear this before you book anything. I will see you in the next video.